My name's Commissioner James Kavanaugh, and I'm happy to be here to chair the Administrative Services Committee meeting. We have representatives of the county, and we're honored to have representatives of the City of Omaha here with us today. Chief, please silence your phones. Even if it is your wife calling, you can always get back to her. We have been working on a couple of different projects, and one of them has to do with the ongoing relationship between Douglas County and the Contractor Development Services, and their Chief Executive, Dick Davis. Dick, you want to join us up here?
Sure.
Is with us today. They have an annual briefing for us, just to kind of give us some idea of where we are. I think there's some materials there, James. Thank you. No, you can have it.
I get it.
Give one to Kavanaugh there. Diane, you got it?
I have one.
I got one.
Thank you.
So, the county and Contractor Development Services have done business together for a number of years.
Number of years, yes.
Okay. And Mr. Davis is here today to kind of walk us through the annual update on the services provided by Contractors Development Services. Dick, thanks for coming.
Sure. Thank you.
What have you got for us?
Well, just about 8 really quick slides just to give you an idea of what we do, how we do it. We've been doing it for many years now, but the bond issue allowed us to do our little activities, including the bond program. And so we thought it would be a good idea just for this group to understand what we do on an annual basis. And this is an overview. And our philosophy, very frankly, is to make all of our decisions on driven by economic and capacity-based solutions. You know, a lot of times you see a lot of other programs around that are really, you know, give the project owner or give a prime contractor a list, and from there there's a bidding list, and that's the end of it. But we want to basically show you that we go much more deeper than that. And really, very frankly, these 3 elements are the real key elements of how we do it, and the results from that. But we match our projects to qualified contractors in these 3 areas. We reduce potential performance issues. Well, a lot of times there's a problem with folks saying that small contracts are not capable. We reduce those exposures. We employ cost-effective principles, which is tied to program savings. So therefore, there's no downside of using a small business. And very frankly, the most important to an executive like Pat and you as a board member is that last one, and that is increase revenues to businesses and minorities in the poorest neighborhoods who are attended. Most of the time, that does not happen. And so we basically added that to make sure it happens with you folks. And so the next 2 slides are the results of it. An example would be we have like 81 enrollees, 52% are white, 23 African American, 21% Hispanic, 2 Native American and Asian. And so because we're not finished with the 2017, we took the last 3 years, 14 through the 16, and we basically rolled and did an average of what are the results of the last 3 years in terms of increase in revenue. And if you're able to see, of the 81 that we had, 43 basically gave us the 3-year consecutive years, and you're able to see that first year the total population was 82 million, and that jumped up to 221 million, and that's the annual combined aggregate of all the program participants in the program. And so that also gives you a better understanding that when you're talking about small business, if you put them in a pool, you can have significant aggregates that basically allows you to do the right thing. And the other thing would be, if you look at the 3-year average poverty area, you see that the increase in the poverty area contractors, which is related in the green, to the total program, you're able to see that that's even higher at 52%. And the real dramatic issue is if you take the total minority, which started off around 30 million and went up to about 55 million, or almost double an increase. That's important in terms of when you talk about taxpayers' dollars and bringing it in from all over the community. And the issue with, very frankly, is that can you then disperse them throughout the community? And we track that to make sure it works out well. In terms of how we evaluated 2017, and again, program cost, savings, and performance, we had last year 10 program participants. You're able to see that they generated 35 bids at 22.4 million. They had 4 awards with 235,000, and the realized savings is basically, if you take our bids compared to the next highest bid, and if you look at that, that basically is the differential. And so that's what we talked about, making sure that it's a cost benefit for you folks. And then if you look at those 10 bidding contractors, you see that 50% of those were minority, and 85% of the bids came from the poverty area. So it's so what we're trying to produce, we are doing that and continue to do it. These are the 4 areas of why we are unique in our functions. Specialized planning, which basically means we try to create a pipeline of capital improvement projects to match the qualified contractors. Sophisticated solutions, we try to optimize. Once we do that, we look at what that contractor looks like versus the scope, cost, and best price solutions. And as we try to identify that project to that contractor, we try to use that scenario. Building capacity, that's the one that's really the key driver, because if the folks do not have secure bonding, financial requirements, or assessing technical capabilities, they stumble. And so we want to make sure that before we make sure that we give them that kind of project, that those kind of elements are strong. On your particular example, we did not have to use customized remedy, which applies. So therefore, when they got the contract and then there's something happens that's bad, we go in and we try to figure out the solution, and from there we basically move out. I won't say the next slide will be the example of the project with the bond project, but on this one I can tell you another project owner, there was a $30,000 differential in terms of cost, but because they had 3 contractors doing basically working on the same project, and then there were problems with scheduling and work, etc. They basically could have put a bond claim on all three contractors, but because we went in there, they were able to save that $30,000 worth of savings, but also keep the project on time and under budget. So it's that kind of a thing. And what we're saying is that we're capable of doing that, but we try not to get into that particular area. And this is a person, Jamco Abatement, and it basically says that first time bonding, this person worked for another company in Omaha for 20 years, wanted to basically step out, but basically being first year, he knew he had capability, but we had to basically make sure the bonding was correct. And with your situation, you required bonding for this program, and we executed that contract for $118,000, and that one contract itself saved you $38,600 over the over the next bid. And the other piece is that as it relates to the other four elements like specialized planning, if we can get close and work with your folks in terms of before this thing comes for bidding, we really do quite well. Certain times we can basically develop solutions that are unique, but this, very frankly, is the project we sort of highlighted. There is in your packet, I think there's a letter, basically from the contractor to you folks saying, thanks very much to that you allow him to perform what he needs to perform. The University of Nebraska, Douglas County, you're able to see that, and here's the point that we really want to continue to work hard with you, because if we can continue, the more types of projects we can have, and basically give to these 80 contractors, the more interest we'll have, and the better off we'll be in terms of enthusiasm of these contractors. And you're able to see the university had about 19 various opportunities. You folks had about 9 opportunities. About 7 of those opportunities were both in the university and Douglas County. And that's what we like. We'd like to have them have opportunities in all of them, because again, if everybody has a bigger pool of opportunity within these areas, we can basically recruit more and more contractors to the table. And the last project, and the last slide, very frankly, is we talk about this slide as a key to you, then this is the key slide to the contractor, because like we talked about trying to match, if we only have the lowest structure, $810,000 worth of capacity related to that area, but in terms of site work, $38 million, you can be able to see that when we try to recommend to you folks, we say, well, maybe we don't really look at a structure. Maybe we take a harder look at site work, because we'd have many more contractors, a lot more capacity to basically get the numbers, the performance area, the savings area, and moving those dollars into the poorest neighborhoods. We can best do that by matching this slide of capacity and building that compared to this slide related to the various job scopes we have. And that is it.
Thanks, Dick.
If I can just add one thing really quick, the contract expires December 31st, so the goal is to have a renewal of that contract on the agenda for the 19th. That will give county training some time to review it, even though it's the same rate and everything, right? Okay.
Correct.
That'll be on for the 19th.
On the 19th, you say, Patrick?
Yes.
Very good. I don't know if anyone else has any specific questions for Dick, but Jerry, I know that you worked on the oversight of the West Campus project, and the example that we have before us, the Jamco abatement services. Can you tell us how that worked out from our point of view?
Well, it worked out very well, obviously. They were a little bitter. They had the experience. They came through without any change orders whatsoever. Very smooth, very experienced, like I said. One thing for Dick's group that kind of missed the mark a little bit, he had several other contractors that, because of inexperience, missed the bid opening by 20 minutes, 30 minutes. There's rules, there's statutes, and I think part of it was the inexperience that didn't allow them to know how to get there on a certain day and a certain time. But my understanding is those bids would have been, some of them would have been significant savings again, along with the example of Jamco. So next time, fire up the troops.
And
A little more training.
let me say it this way, and that is, we, they gotta do it right,
Right.
and if they don't do it right, we'll take them off the list. So my point is, I have to be harder on them than you. So I've gotta basically say, look, you know, we spent this time and this effort to do this. If you can't get this done, you're not really qualified to be in this program. And so once, that's what I call a teaching moment.
I agree with you. No
And
question
so,
about it.
and so, after that teaching moment, we're talking about one contractor on the roofing. After that teaching moment, he was successful in doing what he was supposed to do the next 3 times in 1 contract.
So that's great.
So that's my point is, that's the reason why you gotta have more projects, more owners. But at the end of the day, if you're in a pool of opportunity, he's gonna say, look, I better sort of do this right, because this is really good work, because these people want me to do it. So I'm a little harder on that, so forgive me.
You need to be. Dick, thank you for this presentation. If there are no other questions, we'll look forward to seeing you back on the 19th, and we look forward to doing business with you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah.
I don't know if everyone's had an opportunity to sign in, but we appreciate it if you do. Before you leave, you don't have to do it right now, but we have another public safety related project that we're gonna talk about, and it's one of the major components of the public safety bond initiative. And I'm kind of really proud of this one because it allowed us to do some creative collaboration with our colleagues at the city of Omaha, and something that we didn't do more of. So what we did was we took part of the overall 45 million public safety bond and dedicated it to an alert system that will go into the fire stations of all the firehouses in Douglas County, and will interface with our newly reconstructed and modernized 911 center to give us a state-of-the-art, really nationally recognized call and response public safety capacity that goes from the time that you pick up the phone and call for help to the time that our first responders show up to provide that, which is good for everybody. It's going to allow us to better serve the community, and I'm really proud and happy that we've had this really collaborative effort with the city, particularly the Omaha Fire Division. And we've got Chief Dan Olson, Chief John McCormick here with us today. We also have Frank Corcoran and representatives of Local 385 of the Professional Firefighters of Omaha, who were instrumental in helping us pass this bond issue. Without your help, it would not have passed. And so we want to say a public big thank you for all you did to help us get to this point. And we look forward to having some more announcements relative to this important component of our overall public safety bond initiative going forward. But I really appreciate Chief Olson coming here today, and the folks from the city who joined him to give us a briefing on where we are on this project to date. Chief?
Good job summarizing that, Commissioner. I don't know what else I can add to that. Have a good day. No, you did a very good job. First of all, I'd like to introduce members of my administrative staff, because we have 3 new team members here in attendance today. And as you said, this was a great joint collaborative effort between the county and the city, and we all look forward to continuing those efforts into the future. And if we do so, when we do so, we'll be working with each other as a collective group. So I want to introduce, you all know Chief John McCormick. We've presented here in the past. He's old hat, so old business, but we have new business. Assistant Chief Tim McCaw, recent promotee, and he will be spearheading our technical services division and really our administrative tasks. We have Chief Joe Salcido in the corner. He's going to be supervising our B shift and our training division. And our very first female assistant chief in the history of our fire department, Assistant Chief Kathy Bossman, and she's going to be overseeing our C shift and our operations division and our EMS division.
Can I stop you right there?
Absolutely.
As a father of 3 daughters and the son and grandson of a firefighter, congratulations.
Very good. We're very proud. We're excited about our new team. We're a strong team. It could be one of the, I'd like to say, the strongest team we've ever had assembled in my career span. So it's certainly the goal that we strive to be. But I want to start by saying thank you to the Douglas County group for your open-mindedness and your vision to allow us to replace the fire station alerting systems in 24 fire stations within the city of Omaha. I'd also like to thank the city of Omaha for picking up and financing the additional portions of the project that include the annual service fees. Because it is a collaborative effort, you're correct, and it is a joint finance effort by both the county and the city. The county is picking up the bulk of the cost of the system, the $2 million that's allocated for the system itself, and the city's covering all of the interoperability pieces and the annual fees and things like that. So we've been working very diligently all year long to keep this project moving forward, and it's taking all of our efforts to get to the point we're at today. For those of you who don't know, this afternoon, in just a half hour or so, City Council will be going through the second reading process for the ordinance that's going to cover the city's portion of the financing of this project. Once that's run its course and it goes through the third reading next week, and with all hope is passed, we've met no resistance up to this point, so we don't anticipate any hiccups there. Once it's passed, then the contracts will be signed, and right around the first part of the year we'll be entering into the actual work phase of the project. As I stated, it's a very modern piece that connects to the upgrades that are happening at DEC 911. So we're excited about that. We have a great relationship with the group at Douglas County. We work regularly with that group to design this system. We've had a committee that was assembled to make sure that we're putting in a good product that's going to serve the citizens of Omaha and enhance their safety, as well as the safety, wellness, and well-being of the firefighter and the emergency responders in the fire stations. So we're excited about the project. Does anybody have any questions?
Chief, just real quick, could you walk us through exactly what we're talking about with the alert system and how that will interface with our new 911 center to provide a quicker call and response?
Sure. The way we see it is some components of our current system we found are 60 years old. So we knew in time we were going to have to replace the system, and with technology the way it is today, we had an opportunity with the funding that was provided by the county to make a move on this, and we knew that this was going to be a priority for us because quite frankly we have fire stations that are experiencing problems that we can't fix because the parts aren't available anymore. And we've gone through the process of actually purchasing parts off of eBay to try and keep our current system up and running. So once again, thanks to the county for having the vision to support this in the city as well. But we were able to work with the committee that was put together, very carefully put together, work with the county dispatchers and the experts in the field, if you will, to build a system that's going to bring us in line with modern technology. And what we're anticipating is being able to install a system that's going to not only have longevity, but it's going to have an annual service program that can update the system as we move through time. What's most important about this, Commissioner, is the fact that we believe that because of the newer technology and the fact that there's upgrades happening at the 911 center as well, when those two pieces connect, we should be able to see better overall times in terms of our response from the 911 caller making the call and the processing time that takes place at the dispatch center. That's where we see we're going to realize a benefit to the user, to the actual boots on the ground at the scene of the call. We believe that those times will be reduced, which provides a benefit to the 911 user.
That's really important, I think, to the overall public safety of all of our citizens, and I think it's gratifying to be part of that update. I've actually been to some of the firehouses and seen the existing equipment, and frankly, it's kind of scary. It, you know, as you indicated, is antiquated in some respects, and certainly, I would imagine, being as old as some of it is, hard to find replacement parts for. But there are some new things that have become available in the technology of the alert system in the houses themselves. So if you could walk us through a little bit of that, some of the things about the announcements and how they come out, and what you hear and see.
So one of the biggest pieces, I think, we're gonna realize some health and wellness benefits to the firefighters in the fire stations. We're going to be going to an electronic dispatch voice, or I describe it as a Siri voice. So when the call comes over the speakers in the system, it's going to be a monotone electronic voice of our, I believe there's some programming options there for us. But that's going to take the real live voice and the emotions out of the dispatchers when they broadcast the dispatch. So if they get a critical call in and their adrenaline starts pumping and they become excited, we feel that through the broadcast. Also, if you know, sometimes an individual could be frustrated, and that kind of shows through. So sometimes that translates to some stressors for the firefighters that are receiving the call. Also, we believe that the technology and the speakers are going to be catered to the specific types of fire stations, and the type, these are commercial buildings, so they're built differently. Some are different, you know, some are several years old, some are newer, and we're going to be able to cater the speaker to that type of fire station and that current environment, so that we'll be able to hear the dispatch more clearly as it comes over our fire station speakers. We're also installing countdown timers. They're going to go on the walls that let us know that, hey, you received this call. This is how much time you have to get out the door. That's a measure of time that we take a look at, and we call that our turnout time. So we'll have an understanding as we're donning our gear, our protective gear, and mounting the apparatus to exit the fire station, how much time we have left on that countdown timer. Just gives us a mindful piece of, you know, moving out the door as quickly as possible. There's also some lighting features that are going to glow a certain hue that will alert us to the type of call that's coming in. So a medical call could be a blue hue, a fire call might be a red hue, for example. So these are all components that we believe is going to cause less stress in the firefighters as they ready themselves to respond to the emergency calls. So that'll provide a health and wellness benefit to them, which in turn provides a payback dividend to the citizen, the 911 caller.
So in the house itself, I mean, say there are, I don't know, 15 or 20 firefighters in a particular house at a particular time. Not everybody's on all the time. There are people that are sleeping because you're doing 24/7 shifts. And currently, when a call comes into the house, if I understand this correctly, it goes to the whole house.
That's correct.
How will this be different?
You'll be able to select the apparatus that you're currently assigned to, and you'll be able to only receive the calls, select the mode, so that you'll only receive the dispatch calls for the apparatus that you're assigned to in the area of the fire station that you're residing. So if you're in a bedroom, you can select the apparatus that you're assigned to, so only the calls for that apparatus will come to your bunk room.
So it's not waking you up unless you're actually supposed to be awake.
Correct.
Okay. The vendors that you are contracting with, could you just give us a little overview of who they are? And
Right,
what
so-
you're getting?
You know, one of the reasons that this project has taken so long is because we've gone back and we're going to be contracting with multiple vendors. The system itself is a U.S. digital system. The vendor for the U.S. digital system is a company called Raycom, and they're a common vendor in the industry for fire station alerting systems, and they frequently contract with the U.S. military. We also have a contract for the interface piece between the fire station alerting system and the Douglas County 911 system. That's Motorola, and I believe, Black Box?
Yeah.
Who's Black Box? Are they the annual fee service?
No, they're the wireless
Okay,
provider.
so the wireless component is a company called Black Box. So, the way this new system is going to work, today it's radio frequencies, correct, Kyle?
Correct.
We have a resident expert from Douglas County back here, I have to refer to his expertise, but basically, a call comes in, when the dispatchers hit the broadcast button to the fire stations, it's a radio frequency system. It bounces off radio towers and makes it to the fire station, and we respond. The new system is a web-based system, correct?
Network-based.
Network-based system, so it's an electronic system that's going to, what we've been told, decrease the processing times and that time it takes from them to hit the button and for that signal to make it to the fire station. So that's all the processing times that we anticipate being reduced, which will in turn decrease the overall call time to boots on scene time.
And there's a redundancy component built into this for system
Correct.
failures.
There's a backup system similar to what we have today in service, which is a radio frequency backup system.
And Kyle, thanks for joining us, Kyle Kramer from Douglas County 911. The new 911 equipment that we're getting is Motorola as well, is that right?
Correct, all of our 911 computer-aided dispatch is Motorola. And that's where the interface to the fire station alerting the Motorola component.
Very good. I think that you referenced before the fact that, you know, you've been using due diligence and trying to get the best that we possibly can, so that we're looking at acquisition and installation on what kind of a time frame?
Well, we're hoping to get started as early in 2018 as possible. We have to sign the contracts as soon as the city council approves the ordinance for the city's portion of the financing, and then we have high hopes of moving forward as early in 2018 as possible.
We would like to, at some point, when you're ready, maybe take a look, the Administrative Services Committee at one of these houses when everything's up and rolling, and the same, of course, with our 911 center, so that we can actually see literally the bells and whistles that you're in the process of putting in there. But I think, you know, kudos to you for getting what sounds like the best we can possibly get. This is really gonna be a first-class system, is that right?
Yes, I agree. We believe it is the best system we can get.
And, you know, it's been our intention to try to do this right, both on the first responder side and on the 911 side, rather than as quick as we can and slap something together,
Agreed.
so.
That's correct.
You'll let us know, but we will look forward to coming out to one of the sites in 2018 and viewing the deal. And, you know, Frank, you're on the receiving end of this. You actually do the work in the houses, and I don't know, what house are you at?
Central Fire Station downtown.
Okay. Are you familiar with the upgrades and how they're gonna affect your particular job?
Absolutely. About 2 months ago, I got off work, I had to go down to Lincoln for a situation. We went to Fire Station 7 there, and they have a system similar to this, not as good as what we're going to get. And I could not believe I could actually understand the exact address they were going to. I understood everything about what was happening on the call. There's times at Central Station I'm completely guessing when I jump in the truck, and usually my captain, hey, we're going here. I didn't hear the address. I know if it's a medical call or still alarm for fire, that's simple. But I have no idea where I'm going sometimes when I jump in the seat, because you can't understand. And it's no one's fault, it's just the technology, you know, so. But, yeah, it's not, we didn't have that, what we call it, technology of the laptops in the fire truck. We have a reserve rig, you know, we're asking, could you repeat the address, please, to 911? You know, it's that simple.
Well, thanks for what you do and the heroes you work for. We're grateful, and we're happy to be able to make some kind of contribution to making your job easier, safer, and more effective. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Chief. Well, I don't know if anyone else has any questions relative to this portion of the program. Joe, I know that you're handling our finances on the overall bond issue, and maybe if you could just give us some quick idea of where we are in terms of this particular component.
Well, once this component, once the contracts are signed, then I think what we would do is we would ask you to have, when they invoice you, do a joint invoice with Omaha Fire Department and Douglas County 911 Communications. Then, once you sign off on that invoice, pass the invoice on to me, and then I will get that paid out of the bond project fund.
Understood.
Well, very good. It sounds like we are on schedule on this program, as we are on the balance of the public safety bond issue program. We look forward, Chief, to hearing from you again in the new year. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule.
You're welcome. We're excited to come.
We
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much. Appreciate it.
All right, that is all of the old business. Unless there's any other business, we have updates for those that would like, that we'll have here available on bond payments. As Joe mentioned, we are making these on project-by-project basis as we go.
Yeah, one thing, just an update there, on December 1st, we made an $11.5 million payment to Motorola and bought that equipment, and on January 1st, the last equipment, I think there's $1.2 million payment due, and so after the January 1st, we will have purchased all the equipment from Motorola. And,
For the 911 component? Yeah. So that would be a total of 12.7 mil, roughly, more or less?
Yeah, 12.5.
Okay. And on the other projects, as you can see, of the $10 million corrections project, expenditures of about $1 million have been made, or 10%. On the West Campus, $20 million project there, expenditures have been made about $2.1 million, about 10% there.
And then we bought the FLIR for the Omaha Police Department.
And how much was that?
Was that 800,000? Does
Yeah.
that sound right?
Yeah.
And we will provide those ongoing updates as we proceed on this project, but it looks like things are going very well, and we're on budget and on target to have this substantially in place by this time next year. So, thanks, everybody. Appreciate it, and happy holidays.